This video is brought to you by arftac.com. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're clearly checking out the Holosun 403C. This is graciously donated to the channel by arftac.com. If you're looking for some AR,
Pew pew! Pew!
15 parts or optics or mounts, please go check them out at arftac.com.
Pew pew! Pew!
Also, another thing to note, with any of their mounts or optics, use code CDOES, no spaces or anything for the like, to get, I think it's 11% off your order. So this combination of the 403C along with the HM3X, which comes in a really nice hard case, comes out to about $330 as a set. And spoiler alert, it's a pretty good deal.
Pew pew!
Because if you were to buy these two separately,
Pew pew!
they come out to about $200 to $210 a piece. So you're saving about $70 and you're getting a really cool carrying case to go along with it. I've got to say, I really do like this 403C.
Pew! Pew!
It's just a simple, functional RDS. It's got a 2MOI dot and basically limitless battery life,
Pew pew!
thanks to that very nice solar panel. And because it's only a 2MOI dot,
Pew pew!
it actually should last a lot longer. This doesn't have all the same features as some of the other Holosun products, so let's get into that a little bit more right now. If you're looking for a crazy ACSS type reticle, you got to look elsewhere. This is, like I said, a going back to basics red dot. I like it because I'm probably going to run this on an offset mount on an MPVO/HPVO for a potential precision long-range build in the near future, hopefully in a couple of months or so. A lot of people have been running setups like that, and I figured it's high time I got on the bandwagon and gave it a shot myself. And this would be perfect because the optic by itself is so lightweight, and with its auto dimmable brightness, it literally lasts forever. I clearly have a flashlight over it to show you how well it works, and it works perfectly fine. In all environments that I took this in for my own personal testing, I found that it worked out basically perfectly for the absolute minimum brightness given a certain environment. However, you could always run this in manual mode and adjust the brightness accordingly. The optic automatically starts in auto mode, so if you're wondering why when you first turn it on you can't adjust the brightness manually, now you know why. Press and hold the positive button for 3 seconds to be able to adjust it manually. Down in the garage, it clearly gets more than bright enough down there, and the ring that you saw was basically it just being a little bit too bright for the environment, but I want to showcase to you how bright it can get. With the lights off, you'll see it reflecting back over here, and that's why you have that ring effect going on. During the daylight hours, it doesn't get that bright to have that sort of reflection come back at you in, let's say, the sunshine, but just know it's doing that now because it's a little bit too bright for the given environment. Like I was saying, this is a very stripped down version, so much so it doesn't even have shake awake. But it doesn't really matter to me, given the fact that this thing's going to have 50,000 plus hours worth of battery life, given your brightness setting, and frankly how much you have it out of your bag and, let's say, in the sun. And if you do need to replace the battery, it's a simple standard CR2032 held on by the side right there with 2 small screws. And of course, Holosun provides the screwdriver to remove that compartment. If you're wondering about the emitter, you can clearly see it at the 5 o'clock position there and around the 7 o'clock position from the front. You can and will see the emitter from the front. Right now, it's around the maximum brightness setting, and even though we're in a fairly bright environment, it does show itself fairly easily. And you will get some sort of very weird reflection off the front and rear glasses when you're looking at from the front. I try to showcase that right here. It's a little hard to pick up, but it is something that you will notice if you're on too bright of a setting in your dark environment. Now, if you're really worried about battery life and the fact this thing doesn't have shake awake, let me put it to you like this. 50,000 hours is almost 6 years of constant use. 6 years. You're going to tell me that if you have to replace a battery in another 6 years, you're going to be really upset? It doesn't make a lick of difference to me. Given the fact that this thing looks as good as it does and feels as good as it does, I could not care less about this thing not having shake awake. In fact, if it does have shake awake, that's just another thing that this thing has that you have to worry about going wrong and failing you. What happens if you pick it up in a hurry and all of a sudden, my red dot's not on? With this thing, it's always on. It's always in auto mode. And even if you have it in manual mode, after 12 hours, it'll automatically revert back to auto mode. It would at least give you some sort of illuminated dot. So this way, if you need it in a hurry, you wouldn't be completely assed out. With all the technical specs out of the way, let's finally get behind this thing and see what it's like to actually use. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, just like many other small red dots that we've looked at in the past, it performs, well, very similarly. Granted, this is about twice the price normally as a Romeo 5. The Romeo 5s are like around 120, 125 bucks, but you can find them on sale for low 100s. This thing's, like I said, around $210 on Amazon by itself right now. Link in description below. However, if you buy this from RFTech in the combo pack with my discount code, you could think of it like this. You're paying full price for an HM3X and only $130 for one of these. So that makes it a bargain. Because when you think about comparing this to the 503G or the 503C that I reviewed a while ago, it's half the price. Those are upwards of $250 plus in some cases. So to me, this thing makes a lot of sense because it's half the price and it doesn't offer a lot of the things that people might not need, such as myself. If I run this on a piggyback, MPVO, HPVO, I'm going to set this thing to like 50 or 100 yards, and that's it. I don't need an ACSS for that. I need a small, lightweight, preferably enclosed RDS just like this that's going to last me almost 6 years as far as battery life goes and just be so small and out of the way that I'll never even notice it. Flipping down the HM3X, I purposely leave the rear eyepiece out of focus, so this way I could slowly pull it into where it's going to be perfect, and you will see exactly that. A basic perfect image. That means that both the magnifier and the red dot are beautifully paired with one another and offer a stellar looking image. Now you will note that the red dot is slightly oblong, but guess what? Every single Holosun I've ever reviewed and magnified has the exact same artifact, and I think it's due to emitter placement and the front glass being slightly tilted. You can see it's not a perfect circle, it's slightly oblong at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position. At full brightness here, it's still actually too bright given the fact we are in a bright sunny environment. And it does have a little bit of a starburst tear to it. But again, that's just because it's too bright. I step it down to a much more realistic brightness setting, and you can see you have a nice dot in the middle with the two little streaks off at 3 and 9. You don't really notice that unmagnified, but again, every other Holosun I've ever magnified has some sort of imperfection when it comes to the small 2 MOA dot in the middle. As annoying and frustrating as it is, it's still not a deal breaker for me. I would still run this on a 5.56 carbine with like a 25 yard zero and then just hold center mass out to like 300 plus yards with this setup. And a lot of people don't realize you could shoot that far with a red dot even unmagnified on a larger full-size IPSC target with a good zero. But regardless, we have good looking glass, a very light amount of tint, which really isn't that obtrusive, and just crystal clear glass. As far as eyebox is concerned, it's a red dot, which means that it's basically limitless. You could use it as long as you could look through it. You might notice that there's a little bit of red tint that pops up, as well as a little bit of parallax shift. That red tint, just like what we saw with the Romeo 5 many years ago, is from the front lens. From the front, you could very easily see that red tint that they put on it to help reflect the red dot back at you. But when you're looking through it and the light is just right, if you get off to the side, like right there, you can see the red tint come back at you. Yeah, it's a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world, but it's something that you will notice when the lighting environment is just right. So what's really left to talk about with this red dot? Well, not a whole lot. If you're worried about your astigmatism, I did have laser corrective surgery last year, but I still am affected by some red dots with the starburst effect. This really doesn't bother me all that much. In fact, most Holosuns don't. EOTechs do a little bit, and stuff like the Trichicon MRO is just like horrible, but that's horrible for everybody. If you're looking to buy your first red dot, there are a lot of options out there. By itself, this thing's a bit expensive at $210. When you can get a Romeo 5 for about half the price, that's what I would go for. The Romeo 5 is an excellent little red dot, and SIG has an excellent warranty. But if you're looking to buy a red dot and a magnifier, this combo pack that RFTech is selling is frankly stellar. The glass on both of these, as you've already seen, is just frankly perfect. You can't be wanting for much more. The HM3X, if you haven't seen the full review on that, I have one from a couple of years ago, and I go a much deeper dive on it. It's a phenomenal little magnifier. In fact, it is my baseline magnifier. It is what I judge every other magnifier to, because for $200, this thing is basically impossible to beat. And as for the 403C, well, it is absolutely going to be getting used as an offset RDS on an MPVO/HPVO in the very near future on my next build. I've really settled on it. This is going to be what I'm going to use because it's basically perfect. At about 2 ounces naked, you're never even going to know it's there. And unlimited battery life as far as I'm concerned. And it looks this good and it works this well. Yeah, Holosun is a Chinese-made company, and these are made in China. And their warranty does leave a little to be desired. A very perfect case in point, this kit was missing 2 screws to allow me to use the proper spacer to look through both of these perfectly. I emailed Holosun. They gave me a really quick turnaround time on the email, and I got the screws in about a week. But rftac.com, guess what? Sent me the screws right away. So, if you're really interested in this kit, please go check out rftac.com because they want to sponsor this channel to help allow me create better content for you. So, with that, thank you all very much for watching. And as always, see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers and my Subscribe Star subscribers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to support my channel but don't want to join either of those, I completely understand. But you could still help by using my affiliate links in the description below and or like, share, and subscribe as always. Again, thank you very much.